Chapter 9. The memories melted away, and I slipped back into my kitchen. The overhead light above the table threw a pale orange over the eatery and kitchen. The rains had dampened the air, and a chill was starting to creep in, but I didn't care. I savored the damp Irish air brought in by the rains. I gazed at William, who sat listening with his pencil pressed to his lips. For now, he seemed content to be warmed by the whiskey. "If it gets too damp for you, let me know, and I'll start the fire going," I said. "I'm good," he answered. We sat in silence, listening to the rains bombard the earth. The ache to run out and dance with them was overwhelming. I found their rhythm and tapped my foot instead. "At this time, I met Elena's boyfriend, Pissant," I said. William looked up from his notes. "Pissant. That's right," I said decisively. "It's what I've called him since I was 15. It suits him. I'm calling him Pissant." William gave in, "Okay, it's your story, look," and returned to his notes. "Pissant," he said. "Is that one word or two?" "Let's hyphenate it," I said, and listened to the soothing scratch of his pencil on the page. The scratching stopped as William took up his glass of whiskey. "I hate this part of my life," I said, and watched William snort the Jameson through his nose. "Sorry," I said. He coughed, hacked, and composed himself. I handed him a napkin and watched him wipe the tears from his eyes. He blew the whiskey out of his nose. "Sorry." He apologized for the nose and coughed. "This?" he exclaimed in the tissue. "This is the part you decide to hate? Not the spiders or the beatings or the torture, but this?" I shrugged. "Of all the moments in my life, Pissant was truly my fault," I said. "What happened with Pissant?" he asked. I inhaled and prepared to drop the guillotine on my own neck. "He was my best friend's boyfriend. He was my first heartbreak, and I spent 3 years pining for the Pissant that he was." William coughed again into his whiskey. "I hate love triangles," I said, "and all the shit that goes with them. So we're going to skip this part." William made a face that confirmed he looked rather displeased with the idea of skipping this part. "Fine," I said. "I'll summarize. Let's try to keep this at 200 words or less, shall we? I loved Pissant, who dated Elena for 3 years. I could have gotten over Pissant if he hadn't toyed with me like he did." "Toyed with you?" "Yes. He flirted, touched me, toyed with me, fingered me. To stroke his own ego, he would make out with Elena in front of me just to watch me writhe with jealousy. He'd flirt with me and I'd swoon. Elena got pissed, he blamed me and shoved me away. I withdrew, he felt bad, pulled me closer to cheer me up, and we repeated the process for 3 years. Eventually, Pissant and I slept together. He and Elena broke up. Pissant was with me for 1 month, and then he cheated on me. We continued to sleep with each other until I woke up one day and decided I was worth more than him. Never spoke to him again." William scratched his whiskers with the back of his pencil. "If he's so irrelevant, why bring him up?" he asked. "Because everything that happened next happened because of Pissant." Elena and Pissant felt bad for me. To cheer me up, Pissant decided the best thing for me was a distraction. That distraction was his neighbor and best friend, Joe. They arranged a meeting, and after school, Elena and I headed over to the library. I was repulsed. Joe was your classic scoundrel. He was a red-haired, white trash redneck whose only aspiration was to be a thug on the streets of New York. I smiled, was polite, shook his hand, daydreamed about washing my hand, and left. But I was no fool. The look in his eye, his smile. Within those few minutes, Joe had become infatuated with me. He didn't hide it. He gazed at me like a lost puppy. The next day he called me. Pissant had supplied him with my phone number. Again, I was kind, I smiled, minded my manners, accommodated the conversation, and hung up the phone feeling like I wanted to shower. He made it clear his intentions, his desires. He liked me. Oh, he didn't hold back. He threw himself at me. It repulsed me. He was sweet, kind of, in his own way, but he tried too hard to force something that wasn't there. He pleaded with me to give him a shot. He threw himself at my feet and implored that I try. He was adamant that if I tried to love him, I would. He reminded me so much of myself and how I felt for Pissant. For Joe, I felt only pity, nothing else. Pure pity. I knew too well the hurt he felt, what it was like wanting someone who didn't want you. I agreed, and so began the 3-year yo-yo. I broke up with him after 3 days. I didn't love him. I made that clear. 3 days later, after hearing him cry and beg, I agreed to give him one more chance. We lasted a week. I broke up with him again. It just didn't feel right. He cried and sobbed, insisted that I didn't give him enough time. I tried again. We made it 2 weeks. I didn't love him. I couldn't be more clear, more honest. We continued this cycle for a year. He felt dirty, and my gut feeling screamed danger when my heart pined for pissant. All my free time went to music. Between classes, in the morning, during study halls. At home, I walked through the door and entered a battlefield. The mission? Rescue the cats. Sean caught on and would race me. God help my cats if I got to them before I did. I took them up and ran to my room with them. Sometimes I made it, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes they escaped and I didn't. But the moment I passed over the threshold of my room, the rest of the world vanished. Stepping into my room was literally like stepping into a book. I didn't see a bedroom. I saw my fantasy world melting the reality off my bedroom walls, and Eric was always there waiting for me. The war vanished, and just like that I was in Ireland, or at the lake. There was a peace there, and no evil ever found me. So long as I didn't sleep, the death men couldn't hurt me. I dodged Joe's phone calls, and I ached for pissant. I turned to Eric where we lost each other in music. He loved me, he held me, he hugged me, he kissed me. When I was older, he would make sweet love to me. Outside on the other side of my world, out there, my half-brother would bang on my door. I'm gonna fucking kill you, you fucking bitch! You're fucking dead! One day, after 3 years, Sean broke in.